what are let's say the three components, if you to draw out three components of your scaling success, what would they be? But let's start with that.
That's a tough question. I'll give you a straight answer of what comes to mind. So the key to scaling over 10x over the last 10 years for our business, what immediately comes to mind is we really did focus on hiring great talent. So I think if you use the rigorous methods that we're going to talk about a little later in this podcast, and you put the energy into really selecting a team of the most talented, diverse, good-hearted people you could imagine, it takes extra energy. It takes an extra commitment to really set the bar high and go after these folks and bring them in. I'd say that is very self-reinforcing with all the other things that you want, having good products for clients, having, great service, having, smart decisions being made 1,000 times a week around, the management of the finances, et cetera. So I'd say, very high bar for talent, and then, doing the things that we say you should do to have a high hiring success rate. That'd be one. The second one is around the culture. And this one's trickier because we really were pretty and have been very true to the original vision of having a culture based on freedom. So this is like, and it was a little bit dumb luck. So let me double click on this one for a second. So a culture of freedom would be the second thing. I don't know what the third thing is yet, Brendan, but let me stall you first on number two, and then I'll think of a third one that was really key. I'd say transparency is number three around our client impact, and we'll more of that in a second. But number two on culture. So in 1995, when I founded the firm, just out of dumb luck, that's right when the cell phone became sort of an acceptable business practice. You could talk on a phone. Suddenly you could sort of do your work anywhere, right? And also email. You could, I remember when I worked as an intern in undergrad during my PhD training, we would print and then, FedEx documents around, and that took like a half a day. It was like horrible, right? And you had to have like staff and, lots of arms and legs and people helping with all this, document management. Now, all of a sudden in 1995, you could send an email. So those two little technological advances really made it possible, I think, to have a culture based on freedom where we weren't looking over everyone's shoulder to watch them do their work. Point one, good hiring. Point two, culture of freedom, kind of like the familiar saying, hire the best and sort of, get out of their way. But really, putting that into practice isn't always easy, but we did it on the freedom part. And then three, the transparency one. This is really important. We've all heard, transparency is good, but I'll tell you where I think it really helped us. And it's in two ways. I mentioned the first, which is around client impact. So since the very early days, we measure our client satisfaction. So of your listeners, whenever I do big events and I ask a room full of CEOs or entrepreneurs, how many of you reliably measure your customer impact or client impact? It's like 25% have a rigorous method. In our case, we do a 6-month survey. It goes out, we measure it, we have charts, the whole deal, right? And and so that was very helpful to know and to ask. We just asked two questions. One is, how satisfied have you been with the value of our services over the last 6 months? And they can measure it on a 5-point scale. And then we just say comments. Tell us anything. Give us some advice. Complain about something. Tell us something we're not doing for you. And really, that was super helpful all throughout to know that our clients are getting value and know what they value, know what they don't value. So transparency around measuring client satisfaction, I think, is a discipline that not all entrepreneurs follow that I found super helpful. The other transparency is transparency around what people's jobs are and what their performance metrics are. So I remember long ago, I can't remember who, some successful business person told me that I, as the founder, shouldn't be the bad guy giving direct feedback all the time to all of our colleagues about how they're performing, but rather get the CFO to do it, or have the CFO collect objective data on their client satisfaction scores, on their revenue, on just other things, their peer and teamwork scores, their collegiality scores with their colleagues. So what's really nice is everyone at ghSMART from the early days has a very clear, transparent set of expectations. Like, hey, make clients happy, take care of your colleagues, but it's like operationalized into actual, metrics, like get a 90% or better on client satisfaction, like that kind of thing. And so by doing that, it really helps reinforce the freedom culture, because then people realize what's valuable and they realize what they need, what they need to do in order to deliver value. And they know that their work is being measured. So there's less politics, there's less confusion and ambiguity. We have a entirely remote geography. We have people scattered around North America and the UK and Germany right now in 14 locations. But most often they're working kind of wherever they want. They can, they can work from home. They can work at client site. They can work on the beach. I mean, it doesn't matter to me where they work. So, but really key there on this transparency point is, without having very clear performance expectations and a mechanism for measuring it, I think it's very difficult to give people the kind of freedom and a culture that's desirable. So, in summary, I think I did it. Brendan, 3 tips to scaling. 1, follow the who approach to hiring to really have a very a successful hiring rate. Number 1. 2 is, for us, it was building a culture of freedom. And then 3 was having transparency around our client impact and around the performance expectations and results of our colleagues. I think that's like 95% of it. Nothing else really stands out as like a key to scaling, at least in our experience over the last decade.